Welcome to the Cultured Commuter.
Culture in Context.
I'm John Church.
And I'm Catherine Moran.
In this episode, we visit Newport, Rhode Island's Gilded Jewel, Marble House, an architectural triumph and a trophy to socialite and power broker Alva Vanderbilt's gilded ambitions.
Designed by Parisian-trained American architect Richard Morris Hunt and built between 1888 and 1892, this monument to ambition was one of the most expensive ever built and transformed Newport from a tranquil seaside town into a city of palaces.
Alva and Marble House personify the energy of the New World, the idea in the 1890s that the United States was in the full flower of an American Renaissance built on the culture and art of the Old World.
But new and improved.
A house on a cliff, evoking the temples of ancient goddesses and the palaces of lost queens.
This was the dream of Alva Vanderbilt, the social dynamo of the Gilded Age.
Marble House both evoked and displayed images of power and became Alva Vanderbilt's trophy and weapon all in one.
Clearly visible from Newport, Rhode Island's Tony Bellevue Avenue, Hunt created a classical cube, conjuring the higher geometries of the ancient Greeks and marked by a grand Roman portico of Corinthian-style columns, flanked by an entrance ramp worthy of the Paris Opera House, which was so admired by both Alva and Hunt.
Hunt and Alva had previously partnered on her New York City residence, the 1882 Petit Chateau at 660 Fifth Avenue, which changed the face of that city from streets of brownstones to avenues of mansions, and catapulted the Vanderbilts into the exclusive upper echelons of the social world.
Marble House would have the same effect on Newport, introducing a monumental scale and opulence condemned by some and celebrated by others.
Either way, Alva's trophy took center stage, and her aims were achieved.
Building her Newport house would be the triumphant monument to the Vanderbilts' now unassailable social position. But Alva would not be satisfied with one of the picturesque, vine-covered villas the resort was known for.
Oh no, that would not do. She required a palace of imperial splendor, replete with marble and gilding. But where does the story for Marble House begin?
It began with some very big ideas and Alva's very gilded ambitions.
First, she dreamed of a temple.
In her memoirs, Alva recounted her first view of the Parthenon from the deck of her yacht, the Alva. Here she first beheld the temple to the goddess Athena, perched high on the rocky mound of the Acropolis. She wrote of this critical moment. I found where my architectural preferences lay. Again and again there rose before me the hilltop, which crowns Athens and, in a sense, the world. I made many a pilgrimage to that shrine of beauty, till the pure simplicity of its form and noble harmony of its lines was engraved in my memory.
Inspired by a temple upon a cliff like this, she summoned up the power of an ancient goddess of wisdom and war as armor for the Newport social scene.
Second, she was enchanted by a palace for a queen.
As a young girl, her family lived in Paris, where Alva absorbed the cultural splendors of the French monarchy. With her French education, Alva fixed upon the form of the Petit Trianon, created in 1764 for Madame de Pompadour, the tastemaker in the court of Louis XV, and later a favorite retreat of Marie Antoinette.
Set in the gardens of Versailles, this jewel of French classicism would provide an ideal template for Alva and Hunt.
Marble House combined the architectural forms of the Greek temple and the French pavilion, forged into something new. A building to proclaim the Vanderbilts' connection to the grand historical traditions and social customs of European royalty.
And it's no mistake that the historical references are to buildings dedicated to women. Inspired by the temple to a goddess and a garden retreat of a lost queen, Marble House embodies Alva's ambition to have the power, influence, and imagery of both.
In fact, Marble House became one of the most publicized gifts of the Gilded Age, given to Alva as a 39th birthday present from her husband, William Kissam Vanderbilt, heir to the great New York Central Railroad empire and one of the richest men in the world. This act publicly empowered Alva even more and exhibited the force of her own will.
She recalled the events surrounding the gift in her memoir as follows. Before beginning Marble House, I insisted that it should be put entirely in my name. This was done, and I feel that it properly belongs to me.
Alva selected Richard Morris Hunt, at the time the only American architect who had been trained at the prestigious L'École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, and was the only one who could have built this house at this time. And the well-traveled and discerning Alva was the rare patron who could appreciate it.
Alva would make sure she put her mark on this building, which is defined in every aspect by refined luxury. Hunt and Alva employed studied historicism to dramatic effect in what Alva said was, quote, the triumph of our combined thought and of his workmanship.
From Bellevue Avenue, Hunt's considered design produces the effect of a harmonious two-story facade, concealing the fact that Marble House is actually a four-story building combining both utility and beauty, exactly as its architectural predecessors, like the Petit Trianon, did with such grace and elegance.
A marble wall frames the house with an elaborate iron grille and gates that allow passers-by to catch a glimpse of a sparkling white marble facade which shone in the sunlight and glowed in the moonlight. All of this was set within lush greenery and luxuriant rows of blooming blue hydrangea. It's all here to tempt, taunt, and seduce. Viewers may look but not touch unless part of the select circle invited beyond the gates.
Dominating the Tuckahoe marble facade is the portico. Here, Hunt's classical education in historic form is revealed in his easy familiarity with the techniques employed in the temples of the ancients. The four massive columns of the portico are made of fluted drums, expertly carved and fitted one upon the other and topped with Corinthian-style capitals. These recall the building practices of the ancient Greeks, who constructed their columns in fluted drums.
Hunt's construction methods are calling across the centuries to the work of architectural titans, Ictinus and Callicrates, whose Parthenon so captivated Alva.
And would have been duly noted by her well-heeled friends.
What better architectural formula for Alva's trophy?
The ceiling of the portico continues this ode to the ancient world in Hunt's use of ornament, all so finely rendered again by his talent and European training, so unique at this time.
A visual feast rewarded those guests who looked upward upon arrival. Its ceiling is finished with rosettes set within coffers, framed in egg and dart and bead-and-reel motifs, and bordered by scrolled brackets adorned with acanthus leaves. The harmony of this composition reflects Hunt's ability to synthesize designs gleaned from thousands of years of classical history.
This portico covers the apex of a sweeping, semicircular inclined drive, bound by substantial balustrades and finished with large lamp standards. At the base of this dramatic entrance, the heads of three gods spout forth water into a large central basin encircled by a low wall, evoking the spirit of Versailles.
In this theater of arrival, Alva's well-traveled and culturally astute guests would be instantly transported to the royal courts of Europe, as their carriages delivered them to her grand stage for all passers-by to witness.
Upon closer inspection, the house reveals Hunt's mastery of complex proportions and ornament. The bays which circle the house are divided by massive Corinthian pilasters, which echo the form of the columns in the portico, and moderate the tempo of the facade, unifying and balancing the design.
Here, lines matter. Hunt's classical training focused on proportion. Each molding and flute has its role in organizing this massive marble into a refined essay in stone. The columns and pilasters divide the walls into symmetrical compartments, all soaring vertically towards the heavens. The moldings running horizontally across the walls lead the eye along the walls, marking the division between the floors and framing the windows, all to tame the gigantic scale of the building.
Like its classical inspiration, Marble House is adorned with sculpture that captures the experience of visiting ancient Greek and Roman temples. Because Tuckahoe marble was too hard to carve, decorative features like the capitals and sculptural reliefs were rendered in Carrara marble.
Alva maintained this marble was imported from Rome, along with 100 skilled artisans who brought with them architectural models so exquisite she believed that they were sought after by the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
One of the most striking features in Carrara marble is the sculptural frieze surmounting the entrance. These types of friezes adorned many an ancient temple and altar. Appropriate to the site, Poseidon, god of the sea, holds court amongst waves and water nymphs.
According to ancient Greek legend, Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war, and Poseidon, the god of the sea, each vied to be selected as the patron god or goddess of the Athenians. In this story, Athena was victorious and gave the city its name. Here in Newport, the city by the sea, Poseidon is the victor.
What brings these figures to life is their sweeping forms, the elegance of their modeling, and the unity of the composition, which lends grace to the whole. The forms of the sea nymphs are enhanced by classically flowing drapery and unified by the curvilinear forms and the line of drapery billowing aloft like sails in the wind. With every caress and touch, with every gesture, the viewer is drawn into the intimacies and dramas played out by the nymphs and gods.
And guests calling at Marble House would have beheld Poseidon reigning above the door, but Alva ruling over all.
This point is made yet again in the entrance grille. It is a tour de force of bronze emblazoned with the images of the sun god Apollo and the intertwined A and W for Alva and William Vanderbilt. Here, Hunt has created something both inspired by and worthy of the court of Louis XIV at Versailles.
As we make our way around the building, we're greeted again by Poseidon and images of other gods and goddesses rendered in marble, making this house one of the most richly sculptural in all of Newport.
The sea nymph Thetis rides the waves, pulled along by a dolphin. Her fleshy figure and the delicate folds of her garment are modeled in Carrara marble, its soft finish framed by the harder, sparkling Tuckahoe marble of the arch devised by Hunt. Here, both architectural form and luxurious material are used to their best effect.
A parade of mythological figures continues on the facades. Poseidon reigns supreme as he bears his trident to calm or stir the waters. A sea nymph cavorts with a swan. Another reclines in a scallop shell, while a third entertains an aquatic serpent. Demeter presents her cornucopia in celebration of abundance. Ancient deities enjoying their day by the sea. How apropos for the seaside villa of one of the richest families in the nation.
From the ocean-facing side of the house, guests on the terrace would have been watched over by signs of the zodiac in the form of 4 sculpture groups over the windows, including the ram's head for Aries, the scales for Libra, and the crab for Cancer. Classical figures also languidly drape themselves on the arched window frames in classical repose amid garlands of fruit and flowers. These sculptural details could have been exaggerated in scale and number, but were tempered by the guiding hand of Hunt.
Set in its green lawn, the house seems so serenely classical. What a departure from the wooden cottages and brick villas that defined Newport until Marble House opened its doors.
Bellevue Avenue would never be the same. More stone palaces would rise along this legendary street and its nearby cliffs. Alva and Hunt found Newport a city of wood and imposed upon it a city of marble.
Marble House is a backdrop for a rich story with an ever-changing plot. One that begins with an encounter with the glittering facade of this marble temple, the stage for the theater that was Alva's life, and more is revealed as we go behind its marble walls.
Tune in for our next installments where we delve into the sumptuous interiors of Marble House and discuss the dramas worthy of Greek tragedies and Roman triumphs that unfolded in this fabled place.
Thank you for joining us. Please visit theculturedcommuter.com to join our cultured community, check out our social media, and subscribe to our podcasts and webisodes. Please tune in next time for more Culture in Context. The music featured in this episode is an excerpt from L'Étoile Danse and is provided courtesy of Meudon.